Okay, I guess I can start a couple seconds early. That's no problem. I would much rather be a couple seconds early than a couple seconds late. Gosh, welcome. So many fantastic people, a lot of new names I haven't seen in the past. Let me get up here to the top. Um, so we've got Who's Your Prepping Nurse, and she got her book delivered today, which is fantastic. So, as always, if you have read the chapter that we're discussing and you want to be on the live with me, please let me know. Send me an email. I will send you the link to invite you where you can come on and talk with us. I love to have other people's opinions and make sure that I'm getting this done right. I would love to have you as a co-host. So if you read the two chapters for next week in plenty of time, and that gives you time to make yourself a little bit less self-conscious about how you appear on camera. Let me know. Send me an email. I'll send you the link, and we can get you on here. Hello, Tofu. Welcome. I'm going to try this. Snarfino, or is it Snarfino? Welcome. Good to see you. Dragon Slayer, always great to see you as well. And then, of course, one of my favorite moderators, Lori's Thrifty Kitchen Pantry. You're down in Florida, if I'm not mistaken. And so you should be warming up here in the near future. Cowboy 32 Actual. Wow. So that's a military call sign. So quite often, what you'll have is each unit will have its own what we say, cover name, I guess. And I don't know what Cowboy was. It sounds like it might have been either a cav or an armored unit. I was Disguise, which was an MI unit, and then 3-2 was operations. So I was the operations officer for 337th ASA Company, Fort Riley, Kansas, 1st Infantry Division. And so that was Disguise 3-2 Actual. That was in the 1970s, so things may have changed a little bit since then. I know my MOS was a 98 series, and that's all been changed over to 35 series. So, because 35 was the officer MOSs, and then when I became a warrant, I became a 352. So all the officers and warrants were in the 35 series. So they changed all. We had 05s, we had 98s, and so. They took all of the 05s and the 98s and combined them all into 35s. So that was kind of interesting how they did that. Let me see. Anybody else? Let me get down here. If I can get my computer to work here. Little Lone Prepper, welcome. And have I missed anybody? I'm sorry if I did. Hello, Tofu. And Who's Your Prepping Nurse, I already said. And Dragon Slayer. No, nobody looks. I mean, come on, give me a break. Uh, you've got me as a comparator, so you're going to look outstanding compared to me. So don't worry about it. I mean, oh gosh, I'm sorry. Who's Your Prepping Nurse about that back injury? I have had the darndest time with my total hip replacement. Just pain in the leg. And so I finally went to pain management. And she says, well, you broke your back. And I said, yeah, I got 70% disability for that. She says, well, it just so happens that the vertebrae that's broken is the one that controls the sciatic nerve. So the pain in your hip and in your leg is not from your hip replacement. It's from the fact that your disc is degenerating. And so, yeah, I can empathize with you for being down for a bad back. Tomorrow morning I have to be there at 7:45 for my next acupuncture treatment for my bad back / leg. So I feel for you. I really feel for you. That is not a pleasant experience at all. But you would look far, far better than me. So read the 2 chapters, and I'll send you the link so you can be on with us next week. Well, let's kind of talk about the 2 chapters that we have going on. So let me get into the summaries here of the chapters. And there's a lot. The first one is a really phenomenal chapter because it does a lot of talk around NBC protection, or I guess now it's called CBRN, chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear. Um, oh, let me tell you, I am convinced of acupuncture. It works miracles. It's one of the best things out there. In 19, oh gosh, when was that? 88. I was attached to a special forces team, first special forces group, and we did the counter-terrorist stuff for the Seoul Olympics. Well, I was the operations officer, and so it was expected that, I mean, I was even authorized to ship my golf clubs at government expense, because it was expected that I play golf with my counterparts in the Korean Army. So General Han was the commanding general of the Korean CIA. Had to play golf with him. I tripped on the wet marble stairs of the hotel that they had put me up in, and fell down the flight of stairs and broke my ankle. And I played 9 holes of golf with him on a broken ankle. And so he saw my big swollen ankle, and I was using my putter for a crutch. And he says, "Mr. Engel, are you playing on a broken ankle?" And I said, "Yes, I am, sir." And he says, "Well, I'm going to send you to my personal physician." And I said, "Okay." Well, it turned out it was a Chinese doctor, an acupuncturist. And so he stuck the needles in my ankle, and within 15 minutes, the swelling and the pain were both gone. Of course, I was scared to death because this is the height of AIDS. But 15 minutes later, the swelling and the pain were gone. He says, "Now you need to go to a Western doctor and have that repaired, set." And I did. It was great. So General Han convinced me of how great integrative medicine is, and how great acupuncture is. Oh, wow. I'm sorry to hear that, Lori. Let me see. Okay, so hello, Tofu, and then Lori. Okay, yeah, I don't know what's going on. I think we're being infiltrated. Let's put it that way. There's a lot of strange things going on with Facebook and not Facebook, social media. So I think there's some strange stuff going on. Okay, so who's your prepping nurse? Good news is no X-ray, no fractures. That's fantastic. So yeah, the MRI will probably show some soft tissue damage, and you can always do that to different things. But sometimes soft tissue is harder to heal than a broken bone. I found that out through experience. So and it can be more painful as well. So I'm still going to pray for you, and I'm still going to hold you up there and wish you the best. So same thing with Lori. Oh, Kaya Chris, I hope that's right. Or is it Kia Chris? 76712. Is that a zip code? 76712. That's got to be right around me, right around here somewhere. 76. Let me think. Where would 76 be? 7. What are we? 78. We're 78. So 76 has got to be up around Waco, or between Dallas and Waco, I'm going to guess. Okay. Anyhow, roaming prepper. Gosh, one of my favorites. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm sorry I missed your live today. I got a phone call from my 2-year-old grandson, and he said that he wanted to go to Mighty Fine Burgers and eat a cheeseburger and play on the playscape. So I felt obligated to go get my 2-year-old and 4-year-old grandsons and take them to Mighty Fine and see if we couldn't have some burgers and some playscape time together. So I missed your live for that, but we'll try to see if we can't catch the replay. Okay, so let's talk about the book. So like I said, the chapters 9 and 10 are air and sleep, and the air chapter gets a lot into CBRN, chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear things around the air that we breathe. And so first it talks a little bit about carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide. So I am a strong advocate. Get a monitor that shows how much CO there is currently in your area. Make sure don't get one that just buzzes when it goes too high. This one will buzz when it goes too high, but you also can always check and see exactly how much CO is present where you are. I have one in the bedroom. It's on the nightstand. I have one here in the kitchen, and then I have one here next to me in the dining room. And I actually have this one on, and this is called an Ekbankgruppe. If you look it up, so it's a corner settee type of a deal with a table and then 2 chairs and 2 stools. So we can seat 8 people here. But anyhow, I have it here in the corner, and it's about, I'm going to say maybe 30 inches off the ground. So when you buy them, they recommend that you don't install them higher than 36 inches off the ground. And the reason is because carbon monoxide is slightly heavier than our normal air. So carbon monoxide will sink. So if there's a fire in your house, remember carbon monoxide is going to sink down to the lowest level. The smoke is going to climb to the highest level. So you got this safe space in between where there's good air. And that's where you want to be in case of a fire. Oh, wow. Lori, yeah. So you want to definitely have carbon monoxide detectors in your home and keep them there all the time. Especially Helen likes to burn candles. And so, we keep them just because of the candles, even though they don't produce carbon monoxide per se. I guess I could stick it by it and see if it does, but anytime there's an open flame, I want to have a CO detector around. So the book's talking about, in case something bad happens, whether that be any kind of and I'm going to say event, but we're talking chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear. That there are a couple things you want to do. Turn off your air conditioner. You don't want to suck in any air from the outside into the house. And then you want to take duct tape. So probably have 2 or 3 rolls of duct tape if you can, and seal off the edges of your window frames, your doors, anything that will allow air into your house. You want to seal that so that you're keeping the outside air outside and your inside air inside. Now, I did a video. I was trying to find it in my playlist, and this was probably back in February or March. And I created a little Ziploc bag that I carry with me. I have 2 in my pickup in case Helen's riding with me in the pickup, and I have 2 in the car in case I'm with her in her car. And but it's a little Ziploc bag, a 1-quart Ziploc bag, or it might be a 1-gallon Ziploc bag. And in it, I have an N95 mask. I have a pair of gloves, just kitchen nitrile gloves or kitchen gloves or anything like that. Anything that's going to protect your hands. I have a little bit of masking tape, one of those $1 ponchos from Walmart, and let me see what else. A pair of goggles, and then the N95 mask. Yeah. So and then if you want to, you can get some booties. But that way, I have these NBC kits in my car and in my truck, so that if something happens and there's going to be fallout, then I can put this on real quick. And I've got this poncho that's going to protect me from the fallout. The worst thing you can do is get any of that into your lungs. Now, fallout's going to be about the size of snowflakes and larger. So an N95 mask, even a surgical mask at this point, will be good to help keep that from getting into your lungs. You don't want to get any of the contaminated radioactive particles or fallout in your lungs. That you can't get rid of them. That's all there's to it. That's going to be a terminal event. So carry an N95, carry a surgical mask, carry something that's going to protect your nose and mouth so you don't inhale any of the radioactive dust. The second place you got to be concerned about is the eyes, okay, because it can mix in with the saliva from your eyes. So you want to have some goggles and protect yourself there. Pull that poncho up, the hood from your what's that called? The rain poncho, rain poncho. Yeah, the dollar rain poncho. You want to put that on, cover it up, tape it so that, tape the plastic so that it's rather tight, and put your gloves on. Now you're well protected against CBRN. And now here's the thing. You want to be extremely cautious taking it off. So get in the habit of carrying something sharp in your pocket, a pocket knife or whatever, very small X-Acto knife, retractable X-Acto knife or something. Because what you want to do is, now that you have all this stuff with the bad stuff on it, you don't want to take that inside the house, and you want to take it off. Well, you don't want to lift it up, because then you're going to concentrate all that dust and everything right in front of your face. Your goggles and your mask are going to be the last things you take off. So what you're going to do is, instead of lifting it up to take it off, you're going to reach in your pocket, pull out an X-Acto knife or a razor blade or a pocket knife. You're just going to slice it, reach up here, right about your throat, you're just going to slice it, and then just let it kind of fall off. And the same thing, then you can just kind of lift your hoodie off. And once that's all done, the next thing to come off is going to be your gloves. And I did a video on how to take off the gloves so that you aren't touching any of the contamination. And then once you've done that, then you can take off your goggles and your mask. Those will be the last two things you're going to take off. You don't want to have anything exposed to this radioactive fallout. Hi, Mountain Grandma. Welcome. Glad to see you. And Pat, welcome. Good to see you too. So that's kind of what you want to do. Lori, if you can take that one right below you right there, that sex find info, and delete that for me, I would greatly appreciate that. See if you can't block them as well. And then either you or is Pat did I make Pat a moderator too? I should. Okay. But anyhow, so there's lots of good information in here. It talks about, and there's a great chart here on page 201 about understanding the different types of radioactive effects. So, the immediate, the alpha, beta, and gamma. And then on the next page, there's a real great chart on how much radioactivity you can absorb if you can afford it. If you can afford it. It's not something, thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Who's your prepping nurse? So if you can afford it, okay. I think I paid about $75 for mine, but I carry in my everyday bag, I carry a Geiger counter. So this is a $75 Geiger counter. All I do is I have to put the batteries in it if an event happens, and then it'll tell me what the exposure is, especially here in the house if I need to, and that will give me an idea of how much exposure there is. The book goes into great details about the difference among the different types of equipment as far as detecting radioactivity. And then there's another piece called a dosimeter. So a dosimeter can either be a card or it can be a pin. It looks like this basically, and a thick one of these. And it's got a little window right here that tells you exactly how much radiation has been absorbed by that pin. So the assumption there is, if you have that pin in your pocket, whatever the pin has absorbed, you have absorbed. Okay. Same thing. I have a dosimeter card in my wallet, and Helen has one in her wallet. So we carry the dosimeter cards, and that's going to tell us how much radiation we have acquired. Yes, fantastic, Dragon Slayer. I can't tell you how important that is going to be, I think, in the very near future. So that's kind of where that is now with the chemical and the biological. The chemical, as long as you can keep those chemicals out of your breathing system, they will dissipate over time outside. So you want to be prepared to lock yourself in to where you are as long as you can stay there. Mountain Grandma, there's a fantastic website, and it's KI, the number 4, the letter U. So KI4U.com. What he did was he went out and bought all of the old radiation meters, Geiger counters, and from all of the old civil defense shelters that we used to have. as well as the dosimeters. He's recalibrated, and he's got entire packages of Geiger counters, dosimeters, potassium iodide. I mean, he's got an entire package for 4 people for like $600. But you can get the individual components too if you can't afford that. I couldn't afford it, so we've got some of the individual components: 2 dosimeter cards, a Geiger counter that I got off Amazon, and then we've got 2 packages of Ki, potassium iodide. They only have about a 2-year lifespan. Now, remember, the only thing potassium iodide does, and they talk about this in the book as well, is protect your thyroid, because what it does is it fills your thyroid up with potassium iodide so that radiation can't be absorbed into your thyroid. All it does is protect you against thyroid cancer. Although thyroid cancer is the most common cancer and the most prevalent you're going to get as a result of exposure to radiation. Thank you, Lori. That's fantastic. Yeah, that's the site. Iodine in itself is not. And as a matter of fact, it can be poisonous if you take iodine all by itself. And so what you want is either potassium iodide, which is Ki, or you want potassium iodate, which is KIO. So either one of those two is going to be acceptable. You can get now when the incursion, what are they calling it? Special military action took place in Europe. That month immediately following that incursion, you could not find Ki or KIO anywhere on the web. It sold out real quick. Most of them, I believe, have a life expectancy of about 2 years as far as a pill. So you might want to go ahead and get those. They aren't that expensive. A complete 14-day regimen is around $8. So if you can afford $8, that's going to help you an awful lot. Yes, there is. He is. I would say he's probably one of the better experts on radiation exposure that there is on the web, Lori. So thank you for putting that website out there for us. So, and then they're talking about exposure, acute radiation burns, and everything else, and that's on page 204. And then on page 205, they go into the potassium iodide discussion. And then they talk about IOSAT, which is one of the forms that I have. They also say that Prussian blue is an acceptable alternative if you can't find potassium iodide. Oh, wow, Dragon Slayer. I am not a physician. I'm going to give you my best guess, okay? And so please take it at that, and I would say consult an expert. But I'm going to say the sole purpose of taking potassium iodide is to protect the thyroid from absorbing radiation and causing thyroid cancer. So if you don't have a thyroid, then there's no need to protect it. That's my best guess, okay? But I am not a physician. Please talk with your physician about that. They would know that far, far better than I would. As a matter of fact, we have a nurse. Who's your nurse is in here tonight. Maybe she might be able to help us with that a little bit. Then they talk about survey meters and a lot of other things. He talks about his disaster preparedness plan, and think of getting a decontamination point. So that could be just simply what I have is I have a camp shower, one of those 5-gallon jugs of water that you hang up in a tree, and then it's got a little nozzle where you can spray yourself down. So I have my back porch designed. I have tarps out there so that the minute anything happens, I can seal off my back porch with tarps. I'll have an entrance point, and that entrance point is going to have another tarp kind of around it, so it's like a little dressing room with a trash can. So you cut off your poncho, put it in the trash can, gloves, booties, hat, mask, goggles, all go in that trash can where it's kind of contained. And then you're going to step into step 2 of my decontamination area, and that's going to be this uh, handheld shower system. And you're going to decontaminate yourself by taking a shower. You don't want to scrub anything. Don't wash. You just want to take a shower and rinse everything off. Once you've done that, then the next step is to dry yourself off and then come inside and get warm and put on clean clothes. So this is not the time to uh, be overly, what do you say it, sensitive to being naked in front of other people. You want to live. So, take care of yourself, get rid of your exposed articles, take a shower, don't scrub, just rinse it off, dry yourself off, and pat when you dry. Don't rub, okay? Because if there is any residual, you want it to fall off naturally. You don't want to rub it into your skin. Um, let me catch up here. Wow. Oh, well, that's great. That's great. They did write you the antibiotics. Um, I'm going to have two doctors on, and both of them have agreed to be interviewed, and I'll have one of my doctors answer that. One of them is my oral and maxillofacial surgeon. It just so happens he did his residency doing uh, Nissen fundoplications, which is one of the hernia repairs that I had. So that's basically they wrap the esophagus around the stomach a little bit, and it causes you not to have any more acid reflux. But he did that for his residency, and then he became a maxillofacial surgeon. So he's agreed to come on, and just a fantastic. He's been selected as the oral surgeon of the year for like 7 years in Texas. And then the other one's going to be my personal physician, who is a doctor of osteopathy. He's not an MD, he's a DO. But he is the doctor that the doctors go to, and just a phenomenal doctor. He is a prepper. And so he and I have had that discussion several times. And so he's agreed to come on, and I'm going to have him on probably in February. And so look forward to that on one of my Monday night interviews. And we can ask him those kinds of questions. Just make up a whole bunch of things, and I'll try to get him to him so he can research them if necessary. And I would like to really get that with him. So make sure you have some sort of a plan for your disaster preps as far as CBRN responses. So let me see. Air pollution is a serious problem. I didn't cover that. I do this. I have 3 different prescriptions that I take, which is what rotted my teeth away. I developed asthma at the age of 6 months. I was the HR director for the 3rd largest homeless shelter in the U.S. In the elevator, I think this guy was coughing. The next day, I came down with community-acquired MRSA pneumonia. Spent 3 weeks in ICU. So I have a whole bunch of lung issues. So I'm very sensitive to air pollution. But I will tell you, we are nothing. I grew up in El Paso, and when you take a look at what we're doing in the U.S. and then what you're doing in Mexico, Mexico is doing nothing. Those people are using bituminous coal to warm their houses. And so there is no border where that air pollution from Ciudad Juarez crosses the border. It doesn't cross the border because it says U.S. It just comes across. We get accused of it, and we're the ones that have to suffer economically because of the pollution that's coming across the border. So air pollution and I are, I don't talk about it that much, but it is something we need to take into consideration, especially ozone. Let me see. Yeah, the little kits in the car are fantastic. So that's 2 little Ziploc bags, 1 for each member of the family in each vehicle, just in case you're riding in those vehicles. Okay, so who's your prepping nurse says she agrees with me. You probably won't need it. She was reading up on apple pectin the other day and issues with, that was something that they found out during Chernobyl, that apple pectin has been a very effective treatment. And So, that's going to be something we're probably going to take great interest in the next. Thank you for bringing that up. That's a very good share. Thank you. Um, so that's something you might want to consider having on hand as well. And, look up the efficacy of that and make sure you're prepared for that as well. Okay, Moulin tea. Is it Moulin or Moulin tea to help your lung strengthen? Okay, great. Thank you. I'll write that down and get taken care of. So we're talking about, do you have HEPA filters inside your home? Do you have an internal way of purifying the air? When we talk about gas masks, if you're going to invest in a gas mask, please understand that the filter for that gas mask has a life expectancy once you expose it to a contaminated item. So let's say that there is a nuclear blast, and you're going to go out into it and you want to keep that nuclear radiation from coming into your lungs, and you put on a gas mask. That filter probably has a lifespan of about 4 to 6 hours. Okay, thank you. 4 to 6 hours after you expose it to the NBC in the first place. So in the military, one of the things we had to practice quite frequently was changing the filter every 4 to 6 hours under combat conditions, pulling them out and replacing them and everything else, which is why they went to the screw filter. Used to be, we had these cheek inserts where you had to pull it out and everything else, and then clear your mask, make sure nothing came in while the filter was off. It can be a pain in the neck. So, just if you're going to get a gas mask, do not settle with just getting a gas mask. Make sure you have plenty of replacement filters because you're going to need those. So let's say you go out to get something and you come back in. That filter, for all intents and purposes, is now obsolete. You're going to have to replace it before you go back out again. Now, remember, anytime you do this, what you're doing is you're also concentrating. So that air you're breathing in that may have fallout dust in the air, you're concentrating it in those filters, okay? And so now I would consider those filters as being a radioactive contaminated piece of material. So I would not want to keep that inside of my shelter, wherever that is. You would want to get that outside of the shelter area. Well, Dragon Slayer, like I said, in my opinion, you're just as good with an N95 filter. Okay, so if you can get a box of N95s and keep those around, you're probably going to do just as well and throw it in the trash. There is one company that I am aware of, a company called Seychelles, Seychelles, and they make radioactive water filters. Let me see. I've got my Amazon link to that here somewhere. Let me look that up real quick. But they do have a radioactive removal filter. It's rather expensive, but the one reason I don't have it, Amazon links down here to Seychelles. The reason I don't have it is because as you remove that, for the very same reason, for the mask, as you're removing the radiation, it's being concentrated in that filter in the middle of your water source. So, and I don't want to have that concentration of radioactivity in my water bottle next to me. Oh, there we go. Here it is. So it's the 28-ounce radioactive radiological filtration water bottle is what they call it. Here we go. So if you're interested in getting that, then you can get that. I don't do it simply because of what I said. I don't want to have that concentration inside that middle filter of radioactivity that are radioactive contaminants. Even though they're not going to be in the drinking water, they're still going to be able to emit that and hit me in the leg or wherever. And I would they be attracted to the titanium in my hip? I don't know. Okay. So we talked about the potassium iodide and potassium iodate. We talked about the Prussian blue, particulate filtering face piece respirators. Okay, so we pretty much covered everything under air. Get 4 mil thick plastic sheeting, the 100-mile-an-hour tape, 10 mil duct tape. Then for potassium iodide or iodate, thyroid shield, IOSAT, nuke alert, radiation detector, dosimeter, rad sticker is preferred. Particulate face piece respirators, we said we can't afford those, but you can use an N95, and air purifying respirators and escape respirators. So an escape respirator, basically, you might want to have one for your house anyway in case there's a fire, but basically it's a hood, okay? And then the hood has a rebreather inside of it, so that basically what you're doing is you have this large area of good air that you're rebreathing, and that way you're not breathing any of the smoke or other particulate matter that's out there, especially during a house fire. Oh, wow. That's very interesting. About the Mullen? Yes, having your water inside in the 5-gallon barrels is fantastic. So I got into a discussion with a guy, and he ended up doing a 20-minute Hate Lee video. And I've got a question. I'm looking for my book. There it is. I've got a question into TACTA. I'm a member of TACTA, the American Civil Defense Association. And the question was, can you basically filter out radioactivity from water? And he said, no, because it contaminates heavy metals. And didn't you take college chemistry and all this kinds of stuff? And, and so he said, this book says. And so I said, okay. So then I read this book, and this book says right here that you can filter it with a normal Seychelles or any other water purification system, and it's going to get out 98 to 99% of it. And you can also do it through a sedimentary system. It even shows how you can build a water filtration system in and of itself that's going to remove the radioactivity from the water that you're going to be drinking. So yes, you can filter radioactive fallout out of your water that you're going to be drinking. Okay. So that is safe. Okay, now about sleep. The one thing that I can't get. They're saying, you make sure you have a sleep schedule. Now, here is the difficult part. We're going to be, we are going to, the new version of that. So this is the original 1972 version. So there is a newer, I think it's up to the 6th edition is green, and it's like $20 on let me see here. Nuclear war survival skills. Nope, that's the wrong one. I need to go to Word, nuclear war survival skills. What was I talking about? Oh, about sleep. Remember that we're not going to be getting a whole bunch of solid sleep because you're going to be standing guard. You're going to be doing all kinds of things. Here we go. Here's the newest version on Amazon. So you're going to have interrupted sleep. So you want to get at least 8 hours a day recommended in at least 2-hour spurts. The best is if you can get 8 hours solid, that's great. If you can arrange those kinds of schedules. Every 4 hours, if you do 4 hours on, 4 hours off, that's great. But you just want to make sure you get all of your, you get at least 8 hours of sleep a day. And once you start depriving yourself of sleep, your judgment goes and your mind fogs over a little bit. Your ability to react to things slows down. There's a lot of physiological things that happen to your body without enough sleep. There's a lot of emotional things that happen to your body if you don't get enough sleep. Um, so you make sure that you uh, get enough sleep. And we just had real weird. We had 40 electrical interruptions in 48 hours, and so the church is basically across the fence from me, and so so a lot of guys went over to help at the church, and of course the rectory is right there, and then we also have a retired priest center right next to it. So all that was having all these power fluctuations as well. So we're trying to take care of the church, get ready for midnight for Christmas Eve mass, and all this kinds of stuff. And one of the admins told Father Hi, and he's our parish priest. They said, Father, you need to do two things. You need to get some rest and you need to eat, because if you don't have enough sleep and you don't eat, you get very irritable. And we don't like helping you when you're irritable. And I thought, that is so appropriate, especially since I'm rereading this at the same time. Make sure you keep your sleep, and because you don't want to be irritable around the people you're depending upon to save your life, and that you're well fed. I just thought that was very appropriate, under austere conditions that I saw it happening, that can affect your personality. Of course, communications capabilities. Sometimes you don't hear as well as you should. You also don't communicate as well as you should if you are sleep deprived. And so you begin slurring and people don't understand what you're saying. You can also get into tremors and shaking and things like that. So, make sure you have try to get as much uninterrupted sleep as possible, but make sure you get relaxed sleep. So one of the things you want to do is when you form your community, okay, so like right now, my community that's going to focus here at my house are my daughter and her husband, my 3 grandchildren, his parents, his mother and his father, stepfather, and mother, and then my sister and my nephew. So we're going to have 8 adults here. So I think with 8 adults, there's enough people here watching things where I can sleep comfortably, knowing I can trust them to watch things. So making sure that you can trust other people with your life and with your welfare enables you to relax enough to where you can get the sleep that you need. You need that REM sleep, okay? So that, you want to make sure you do that. Don't use artificial things to help you get that sleep. You don't want to use drugs or alcohol, because what you're going to do is you're going to put yourself into a chemical state of sleep. Then if it's necessary for you to react to an emergency, you're not going to be able to react to that emergency, because you're still going to be under the influence of the chemical that you're using to create the sleep. So please don't do that. Hello, Tofu. Let me tell you something. Every time I take over my donation, so I don't know if y'all know it, but 40% of any money I get off of Amazon sales or off of viewing and watching the commercials for this channel, 40% of that goes to our local food bank called the Caring Place. Well, it's also kind of like our local county equivalent to Goodwill. So you can donate things and then you can buy things there. So I bought all my Christmas cards, and every time I go there, I buy another stack of thank you cards for the very reason you're talking about. And then there's another one that I have, and it's a Tango Yankee, and it looks like a poker chip from Vegas or something. But Tango Yankee is TY, or thank you. So it says on the back, it says, thank you for the extraordinary service that you provide. And so I give that. When the fireman came here for my broken hip, I usually carry 1 or 2 in my pocket, but I've emptied everything. You don't want to see what I'm not wearing right now. You can see the shirt. That's okay. But anyhow, keep 1 or 2 of those in your pocket. So Like when the firemen and the EMTs came and put me on the gurney and took me to the hospital for my broken hip, I could give each one of them a thank you because they took exceptional care of me. Um, so, yes, I am feeding a small army. And boys, young boys, can eat more than any 3 adults. Let me tell you, I think nowadays that the young boys come with hollow legs. And so just beware. Any boy 18 and under has hollow legs, and you've got to fill that with food. That's all there is to it. um, so, uh, I'm going through the quick summary. When a situation is particularly threatening, consider sleeping with the entire family in one room. Consolidating helps keep everyone warm and can relieve worry and stress. So that's another thing, is the comfort of sleeping with others in close proximity and knowing that somebody else is there. Animals do it, we do it, and just having other people there that are there. Sometimes even the rhythm of their breathing and the rhythm of their heartbeat can put you into a more relaxed state where you can sleep better. Um, so that's fantastic. Yes, there are herbal teas. I'm going to have, and if anybody here is really good on herbalism, I've asked Cynthia from Big's Family Prep, and she's a big herbalist. I've asked her to do an interview, and we're going to do that sometime in January. Um, and so I would like to do an entire Monday night interview on herbalism. And, then I would like to do one entire Monday night on, let's say, essential oils or other things. So what are some of the homeopathic things that we can do to assist with things? Lavender, for example. Having lavender is very calming, and that can in the air. If you diffuse lavender as an essential oil, that can help you sleep a little bit better. It can calm people down. Hello, Red Scout. And so there's all kinds of things you can do with essential oils and with herbals. That's going to be very, very productive in a post-apocalyptic world. Even when staying alert for a long period of time, sleeping in shifts is preferred to using stimulants. So if you go without sleep for more than 36 hours, it may lead to severe mood swings, poor decision making, loss of coordination, and even hallucinations. Resist the temptation to push yourself too hard. One of the things that I want to strongly recommend against in the intelligence world, I was an intelligence collector for 21 years, and we worked rotating shifts. So we would work 6 days from 7:30 a.m. It was 8.5 hours to 3:30. Yeah, 7:30. No, 7 to 3:30. It was 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. 8.5 hours, and then swings was 8 hours, and so that was from 3 to 11, and then mids was 6.5 or 7.5 hours. So I forget how it was, but anyhow, you'd work 2 days, 2 days off. I'm sorry, 6 days, 2 days off, 6 swings, 2 days off, 6 mids, 2 days off, and then 6 days again. Trying to get adjusted to that, getting your circadian rhythm adjusted to those constant changing of shifts and when you're going to wake up. Man, I had a dickens of a time um, waking up for a day shift after coming off of 6 mids. Oh, that was terrible. So I strongly recommend against that. Now the Navy had one that they called 2 to 280. So they worked backwards. They went from mids to swings. They worked 2 mids, and then they came back the very next day and worked two swings in a row. And they came back the very next day and did 2 days in a row. And then they had 80 hours off. So they worked 2 2 2. But they stayed zombified half the time as well. So, if you can get on a solid schedule, once I got on straight mids, I was one of the happiest campers you ever saw. So, those straight shifts, even if it's a mid shift, just working that same shift all the time on a regular basis, you get into some habits that are good for you. So let me see. Uh, yeah, we are. So the first Monday. So right now we are reading the Survivalist series by A. American. So we're going to be discussing book 2 day after tomorrow. This book here, and so that author, his name is Chris A. American. He is going. I'm going to interview him the first Monday in January. So that's going to be next Monday. So next Monday, he's going to be on at 8 o'clock. I'm going to be interviewing him. So if you have any questions about his book series, they're up to 11 books now. So if you have any questions about his series, please be here Monday at 8 o'clock, and you feel free to ask questions because that's what we're going to be doing. Let me see. So Red Scouts here. The base you were at in South Korea was set to expand 4 times. It's assigned base numbers. Yeah. Um, and then one of the things when I was tactical, uh, it was 12 hours on, 12 hours off. Whenever it was my 12 hours off to sleep, you had 4 hours of guard duty. But in the middle of my 8 hours sleep, whenever that was when we moved. So, we would move from one location to the next. And so typically, uh, I got 4 hours. I would go for a month, 2 months at a time on 4 hours of sleep a night. It was not that good. Best starter book, okay, for essential oils is Joanne Warwood. Let me write that down. So I got a nice critique, and it said, Lee, sometimes you read and you don't keep talking. You need to keep talking while you're reading, or else people lose interest, which is a great suggestion. I still haven't mastered that. Essential Oils and Aromatherapy by Joanne Warwood. Okay, I will check into that. Thank you very much. Chamomile, passion flower. Yes, I've heard chamomile is fantastic for sleeping. And catnip is fantastic for sleeping as well. I've heard that. Haven't heard passion flower and lemon balm, but I'm willing to give those a try. Red Scout, son of Adam. Is that an herb? No, I was just younger and crazier. That's all. So no, I wasn't. I wasn't stronger. That's for sure. Yeah, you just can't do it. The circadian rhythm is so messed up that you can't accomplish anything. And I mean, and we're listening to Russians on the radio and trying to translate simultaneously. Listen in Russian, type in English, and when if your mind isn't there, just isn't there, then your efficiency drops. And so, um, you know, oh, thank you. Oh, great. Well, Marie, if that's the case, if you taught, then you need to be on that live with me, or we need to do a separate live with you, so that we can share your expertise. Because I am totally convinced that homeopathic medicine, whether it be herbs, whether it be oils, whether it be um, reflexology, acupuncture. There are so many fantastic medicinal methodologies out there that we're going to have to depend upon in a post apocalyptic world, that I would like to get as much of that information out there as possible. So send me an email. Let's talk about you sharing, especially if you taught it in the past. Let's see if we can't get you on to a Monday night live stream for an hour and share your knowledge with the world out there, so we can bring some people up to speed and help them to survive with some of the things we're going to need to be doing. Um, yeah, there's some crazy storms going on, and right now I'm the incursions by the North Koreans with their drones. One of them made it to the northern suburbs of Seoul. Um, the Chinese and their aggression, Serbia, Kosovo, Bosnia Herzegovina. That's all going on. So Marie, it's let me put it here for you. It's Cold War Prepper at outlook.com. Um, so there's a lot of stuff going on, and I just hope we can get enough information out to people to help them before it's all over. If if you have a health savings account or a flex spending account and you have money left over in your HSA, FSA, you might want to consider getting one of these. Get this Jace medical kit. And that's 4 different sets of antibiotics. My biggest personal fear of everything, even more so than thermonuclear warfare, my biggest personal fear is that the sewage system will be disrupted, it'll back up, and there will be raw sewage in the neighborhood, in the area, and that's going to cause dysentery, cholera, typhus, typhoid, you name it. There's all kinds of things, and if you don't have the right antibiotics, it's going to be problematic. I think I have it well under control here at my house. I have an entire system of 3 different 5-gallon buckets. What do they call it? It's called luggable loo, and it's an entire system with a seat and the liners and everything else. And then I've got a system where I'm going to dispose of it, where I'm going to begin. What's that called? Where you change it chemically? Composting. I'm going to compost the poop out in the backyard. And I've got it all planned for me. I don't have it planned for my neighbors. And so that's what concerns me. And so I think that's one of the things that scares me the most is a lack of sanitation and a lack of disposal of things that could be detrimental to our health by my neighbors. So this is called the Shema, and that's the greatest commandment according to Jesus. And so Shema means hear. So Shema Israel. So hear, O Israel, the Lord is your God. As a matter of fact, I was just, and you need to look up on YouTube, the oldest scripture found in Jerusalem. And the oldest scripture, and it was written on silver scrolls, and it was found accidentally in a tomb. And this was like 4 or 5 years ago. By a kid who was helping an archaeologist, but the first recorded words that they have found from the Bible, from the Old Testament, in Jerusalem are words from the Shema. Hear, O Israel, the Lord God is your God, and that you must love with all your heart, soul, and the last word is all your being, all your existence, and everything else. So Jesus says in Matthew that there are 2 commandments, the Shema, right, that you must love the Lord God with all your heart, soul, and strength. And then the second commandment is like that you must love one another as I have loved you. So those are the 2 great commandments. So thank you for sharing that. You're absolutely right, Red Scout. And okay. Yes, you can use your FSA to pay for Jace. Yes, you can. I wholeheartedly agree. We should do as much natural as we can. As a matter of fact, believe it or not, what I have done is I have gone over to drinking flavored water instead of Coca-Cola. I have not had a carbonated drink now in almost a year. Now, I do enjoy a little bit of eggnog, but that's only during one season a year. And I think Dragon Slayer, what people are not aware of is even without topical disinfectants, antibiotics, that small cuts can become major problems. They can become extremely problematic, especially if you don't wash the wound and take good care of it. So small things can become very serious, and I think infection is whether it be internal or whether it be topical, is going to be something we need to take very, very good care of and be very aware of. what I did was when I built my first aid kit, my family first aid kit, I took a look at what are thinking, we're going to be kind of like camping conditions. What are the most common injuries in a camping that are reported when people go camping? So the number one injury is burns, and people cooking with fires that they are not used to, their clothing catching on fire, burns from handling hot objects. So I don't think people are taking burns seriously, as seriously as they should either. That there should be plenty of Telfa pads and plenty of burn ointment, and you know, and of course the topical antibiotics as well as the oral antibiotics that result as a result of wounds from burns and dehydration from burns as well. Oh, you saw that one about the silver scrolls? I think is probably what you're talking about. You're probably very right. I would say that probably was so. So what I'm doing is I have lime, and I also have uh, cat litter, and then sawdust is very good as well for doing that. And then what you also want to do is we're going to be using an awful lot of charcoal. We're going to be using an awful lot of wood to cook outside, because eventually the Coleman fuel and liquid natural gas and everything else is going to be used up. So you're probably going to want to use that ash, and that ash is going to help with the rapid decomposition of sewage as well. Yes, honey is a very good natural um, wound healer. There's one of the things, and I asked Dr. Kane if he would specifically address this, because people go out and buy these suture kits. And I said, I am really opposed to suturing a wound. Number one, most people don't know you don't suture a puncture wound. There's a rule that the wound has to be longer than it is deep before you suture it. Okay. So that's the number one rule. But number two, every suture that you put into a person, you're adding two more puncture wounds. So you're tripling the chances of infection with every suture. And so I just, I'm a Steri-Strip guy. I've got Steri-Strips galore, and that's the direction I'm going to go. I'm probably not going to do any probably not going to do any suturing or stapling. So Dragon Slayer, did I see the guy who? Yes, yes, I did. Yes, that's the one I watched either this morning or yesterday. But yeah, that was a fantastic video. Um, Very true. Very true. So you want to make sure you keep some good hand cream and keep everything. Same thing with your feet. I'm One thing I learned in the military is the number one thing you have to take care of besides clean hands especially when you eat, is take care of your feet. And so, making sure you have ointment in case your feet are dry, and splitting powder to keep them dry, and if it's in a wet condition. I mean, take good care of your feet. That's going to be extremely important. You can't do anything without your feet. Manuka honey is the best buy. Any honey will work. Wow. Okay. That's great news to have. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. Well, we are just over an hour. Anybody have anything else that they would like to discuss before we shut this down? Gosh, great discussion. Thank you all. You added so much. Got me another book I have to buy. Next week is First Aid, Chapter 11. And so I tell you what, I am so into first aid. And I think it's so critical. I would like to only do one chapter next week, and let's focus on first aid next week. We'll get into chapter 12, communication, later. Remember, I'm a communications guy, communications intercept. But I would like to just focus on first aid, if that's okay with everybody. And so we're going to do chapter 11 next week of this book, First Aid. Remember that Monday night, I am interviewing an American, and he is the author of this phenomenal 11-book series. I'm getting an email out to Stephen Smith. He wrote the other fiction book club that we did, the Stonemont series. I'm going to ask him if he would come on and we can do an interview with him. So I think we're getting all kinds of great interviews scheduled for next year. I just hope that we can keep the world together long enough to have them on so we can discuss it with them. So let me finish this up here with these people, and then we'll get to numbers. Thank you, Mountain Grandma. Yes, I wish everybody a very peaceful and glorious New Year. I mean, there's enough worrisome stuff out there. I hope. No, we didn't get sidetracked from the book. Thank you. You brought some very good information to the table, and I'm looking forward to you being here next week as we discuss first aid, so that you can add value to that conversation as well. So let me get my Bible. I should have this memorized. We're going to go to the book of Numbers, chapter 6, verse 24, 25, and 26. And this is also one of those things that's been found as being ancient and very profound in the findings of the ancient writings. And so the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord let his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord look upon you kindly and give you peace. So I wish everybody a very safe and happy New Year. I hope you saw my video, because today is the third day of Christmas. Remember that we, in the Catholic tradition, used to have 12 days of Christmas. We would start with Christmas Day and go until the Feast of the Epiphany, when the Magi came to visit Christ. Now that's a separate holiday, the Feast of the Epiphany. Now we just do 8 days of Christmas. We go from Christmas Day until the circumcision of Christ, the 8th day of his life, when he was presented to Tipple in accordance with the scripture. So remember, we're all in this together, so we can come out the other side together. Please be kind, polite, and respectful to each other. Love ye one another, because togetherness is the key. Take care. Bye-bye. Get all these things up here. Gosh, I got all kinds of warnings and notices and everything else. There we go. Now I can see it. End broadcast. Take care, everybody. Happy New Year.